After Carter, in comes Ronald Reagan during the difficult days of the Lebanon War and the fight over the AWACS. These are things you can Google at home. Just trying to give you some things to think about. And one of the things we start seeing is the pattern we saw with Eisenhower, with Reagan, with George W. Bush, with George H.W. Bush. We're going to see that often the relationship starts a little rocky, but then often bonds and becomes clearer as Reagan saw how important Israel was in defending the West, in defending democratic values, in defending America. And then we see with George H.W. Bush, he's most famous for his fight with Israel over loan guarantees. But we forget also that in 1991, George H.W. Bush had his chief diplomats, including James A. Baker, working the phones to rescind the Zionism as racism resolution. And we then see Bill Clinton working so hard to match the high standards set by Jimmy Carter during the Oslo peace process. And indulge me one important anecdote at the very end of this, where there is an Oslo peace process. Of course, it started in Oslo, that's why it's called the Oslo peace process, but Clinton goes in and embraces it and tries to remember that famous picture, Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat shaking hands? And at the very end, when it seems so close, because it's the magic of the 90s, right? It's the magical time when the Soviet Union is falling apart, and Germany, once divided, is now being united, and there's peace now breaking out in Northern Ireland, there's peace breaking out in South Africa, and it seems like we have a shot here at peace. And Bill Clinton is very clear. He has criticisms of Bibi Netanyahu and of the Israelis, but in his memoirs he says that his last days of the White House, when Yasser Arafat came to visit him, and Arafat says to him, "Oh, Mr. President, you're a very great man." He looks at it, yells, he says, "I'm a failure because of you. We could have had a peace treaty. We could have had peace, and you weren't ready to make that.